sure will. Needless to say, this is a very difficult time. It's an incredible time. I mean, here we are in the middle of a pandemic and a murder of George Floyd, and nationwide and international protests. But look how fortunate we are to be at Roosevelt Island, evidenced by last night's peaceful march that was produced by two young women in our community, Zoe Lopez and Talia St. Hubert. I hope I pronounced their names correctly. The Chief Brown and I met them before the march, and they're enthusiastic. They wanted to march for justice, and they want to continue the discussion for the days ahead, and we will do that. And approximately 500 of our neighbors came out, and it was peaceful. And like Shelton said, I want to thank Kevin and Anthony and all of your troops, as well as the NYPD. They really, truly showed what community policing can be like. I'd like to take the time also to thank Lynn Shinazaki, who is behind the scenes in getting us thousands of masks from the mayor's office, as well as Councilman Kalos, Assembly Member Seawright, State Senator Serrano, for providing face masks and sanitizers for our community as well. I already mentioned Joy Short, but I want to mention her again because she really was a huge help in formulating a procedure and plan for the tennis courts that will open on June 20th. And also the interim railroad president, David Lawson, has met with both Kevin and I'm not sure if Anthony was there. Were you there yesterday, Anthony? Okay, Kevin and Prince Shaw from our Capital Projects and Planning Department to work on a bicycle safety plan. We've had a lot of community interest in and concern about bicycles on Roosevelt Island. They met together. They identified places along the island that are perhaps less safe than other places where pedestrians may be more concerned. They discussed signage as well as striping, and we're moving forward aggressively to implement that plan.
Susan?
Yes.
I'm going to, listening to what you're saying, I'm going to recommend that some kind of broader discussion within the community be instigated on the question of bicycles, because we're going 2 or 3 directions at once here. We have a project to improve bicycle access to the island. We've got the city bike coming in at some point when the trouble dies down. At the same time, we're hearing more and more reaction to the fact that bicycles are cluttering up this, that, and the other, including one of the public comments today. So I think, just an opinion only, first thought, always suspect, we need to broaden this discussion. And I don't want to put extra pressure on Kevin or Anthony or their people, but it's a bigger. It seems to have become a bigger question than I understood it to be, and perhaps we need to revisit a whole lot of stuff. Maybe.
I'm happy to defer to Kevin on this topic because I know he's been involved with the bicycle issue all along. A lot of the issues have been just enforcing the rules that are in place, and I know public safety troops have been advised to so enforce those rules. But I don't know, Kevin, do you want to say something on this at this moment?
Sure, no problem, boss. In enforcing the rules and the regulations of the bikes, we have had an increase of bike riders on the island in the last few months, especially during this pandemic. And I've alerted my public safety that not only to enforce the rules, but to be visible in helping with bike safety and giving direction to the bicycle riders. Now, I know that this is a quick fix to a bigger issue, but we are out there, every day advising bicycle riders just on the safety on the island and the difficulty with navigating through the area. So in addition to the signage that we will be out there enforcing and, hopefully getting the striping, along with Prince and we're trying to set up some remedies just to get people to slow down and ride safely along the areas where it is less safe.
You feel that the signage is adequate at this point?
No, we're going to put in more signage. We need signage, but not only put in the signage, but have our public safety enforce the signage also. So, we can put all the signage in the world, but if no one listens to it, no one enforces it, then that's where we run into a problem. So we have to get out the signage and step up the enforcement and make sure that people are obeying the rules and the regulations.
There was something that Prince had mentioned too, and maybe you remember what it's called, something that you could put down in those areas certain areas to slow down the bicyclist.
Yeah, it's kind of like that permanent gravel to the roadway, so that bicyclists, it's like when you go into like an area with your car, like you feel like this stripe zone where like the wheels kind of like feel different. So we're looking into that also, so that riders will know when they get to certain areas that they will slow down and that they will be a lot more safe.
Is there any provision for declaring the island a slow bike zone of some kind? And just make it clear that bicyclists are welcome, but at cruising speed, not at racing speed. Something like that. Is there anything like that?
Well, these are the signs. The signs are going to definitively say slow down. Unless they're in the street, and especially along the promenades, they must slow down. So we're going to get these signs that just advise people to slow down. And also, one of the things that we're going to do is put up signs that say dismount at certain areas where where the area gets a little tight for bicycle riders, that we're going to advise them to dismount. And that's where we could put the public safety at, so that we could enforce that if people dismount their bikes, if they slow down, then it makes it a lot more safer.
Thank you, Kevin. I also wanted to thank, again, Wendy Hirsch for everything she has been doing, and many others, to provide much needed services for our seniors and disabled during this pandemic. Briefly, bringing you all up to date on some of our capital projects. Throughout these months of the pandemic, work has continued on the Motorgate waterproofing project, which is now about 50% complete, and the tram elevator project, which is about 20% complete. And two of the projects that completely stopped when we entered the New York pause were Octagon Comfort Station site work and the Hope Memorial. The Octagon project was about halfway finished, and we are hoping that because we're entering phase 1 of New York Forward, we will be able to restart these projects soon thereafter. We also have the completed projects, which are very frustrating. The Blackwell House project, as well as the youth center, they're done, they're beautiful. But we have final inspections that have been on halt because during the pause, DOB was not going out to do inspections. And again, since we are now entering phase 1 of New York Forward, we're hoping to be able to schedule those final inspections and finally open those two properties soon. The AVAC controls project was completed, and the facility is up and running. And then we had the design projects, many of which continued, even though we were in New York pause because the work could be done remotely. And those projects we will be moving forward on. But however, because of the pandemic, and as well as the directives from the Division of the Budget and the governor, we may well be required to set new schedules for these projects. We don't know yet exactly what those schedules will be, and we will keep the community apprised. I want to thank all the board members for working so hard, and I do appreciate everything you do. We've been sending you a lot of detailed material to look at. And I also want to thank the community for their continued support of our essential workers who have served the community, even though, through these months, even though New York has been the epicenter of the pandemic. So thank you all for everything that you do in support of our workers. I believe we have another board meeting this month, which is unusual for us to have 2 in 1 month, but we'll have one at the end of June to go over the audit and the financial statements. Is that correct, John?
Yes.
Yeah. And
That's correct.
that's our report for this month. Thank you.